Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to episode 37 of Some Random. I am joined today by the beautiful, the lovely, the magnificent Rockdan. Rockdan, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good tonight. How about you?
Could be better. Could be better. I mean, look, it's not bad. You know what? I take that back. It's a good day because I get to talk to you. So that makes the day a little bit better. I just like hopping around in casual matches earlier and like couldn't get in a flow, so I was just kind of like banging my head against the wall of like playing casual matches, and like eventually I'll get into a groove, right? Like I'll get into a groove, and it never came. So like I put the game down after like 4 or 5 sets, and I was just like, man, just wasn't feeling it today. So I'm just like kind of coming down off of that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but other than that, no, it's like I said, my day is exponentially better now. You're here, the stream is here, the podcast is live, so I'm happy.
All right. Well, and we just got our kid down for the night to sleep. I think she's out, so I should be free of troubles now to do this. So.
Excellent. Well, mine just told me that I can't put my arm on her dollhouse, so I might have trouble with my kids over here. Who knows?
I don't know what you're doing with your arm, but that better not be on the dollhouse.
I know. I just learned my lesson. So Rockdan, look, before we get started, why don't you tell the people who the hell are you?
Okay. My name's Dan. Most people in the fighting game, video game, etc. world know me as Rockdan, which comes from Mega Man or Rockman, and obviously combining with my name, which I'm a huge fan of the Mega Man series. I'm in my mid-30s. I'm in the state of Michigan. Play a lot of fighting games, go to tournaments when I can. Play a whole lot of other video games too, so if you're ever down to play some other stuff, I can get into that too. And yeah, I'm not really a huge content creator like I think some other people on the show have been. I don't really have anything I'm trying to push or working on as a project. I'm kind of, I think, fit the mold of Some Random, which is the theme of the show.
That's perfect.
Just a guy who plays fighting games mostly, get in kind of every game scene because I like a lot of fighting games, and yeah, just try to bring the perspective of, I guess, someone in the scene who is there. I guess that's what I'm going to try to do.
Hey, look, we've had people from all walks of life on the show. We've had Brett Bayonne of Shaper of Stories on, who's a big content creator for Super Beard Bros and stuff like that. And he has his own channel. And he's like a super successful Twitch partner. Then we've had like Jar Pogo, who he's Guinness Book record holder for like the most pogo bounces.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And then we had my friend Buford on, and just for him to talk about like wanting to learn video fighting games. And then people like who'd we have? We had Jazzy J on. Not the actual Jazzy J, that'd be dope. But like we had my good friend Jazzy J on, who like has like I think like 10 Twitter followers. But like he's just a good dude. We've had people like Ocelot Youth. Ocelot Youth, he's running like a Columbus player series, kind of like the Detroit player series was a couple years back. So like we all walks of life. Ocelot does an awesome job down in Columbus right now. Who's another birdie player. So y'all, I'm looking at the character select screen and I was like, fucking Ocelot plays birdie. Oh yeah. Oh, and he's doing big shit in Columbus right now. So yeah, shout out to him. I should actually probably get the name for that while I'm shouting him out, because that dude does do excellent work. Not to take away from you, sir. Just like while I'm on the topic of it, I don't want to be over here going like, yeah, he does good stuff, but like not know what the fuck I'm putting out there. Oh my god, what in the name of heaven? Goddamn, Ocelot, you have so much shit on your Twitter. I know, I hope you hear this, so you can hear me say, like, you tweet a lot, but also you did good work, so thank you. Fucking. Well, look, I'll find it later. Oh, there we go, the Beatdown series.
Yeah.
The Beatdown series, that's what it is. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. Anyway. So yeah, you fit the mold of Some Random, which is perfect. It's always good to have some random folks on here. Fuck, RDY fits the mold of Some Random. We had him on here.
And I think it's good you're giving people a voice that are, not the normal group of people that would talk, or people that are always front and center.
Yeah, I gotta force it on some people, but yeah. I think we forced it on you. That's how we got you on the show.
That's all right.
But I'm happy to have you here, man.
Yeah.
I first met you at Michigan Masters, I think, in 2018. And even then, I think you made top 8 that year.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
was like, wow, this birdie's like super impressive.
Thanks.
And then like we talked and hung out, and then like last year, we met up and hung out quite a bit. And even then, your birdie's still strong as shit. I think you took what, 3rd or 4th last year at Michigan Masters?
It was 3rd, yeah.
3rd, yeah. Like goddamn.
Yeah, I do remember when we first met because it was when they had music playing by the pool at the tournament, and I had been a couple sips of stuff in there. I had some strong zero, and I think you might have been too. And I think you were just looking around for some, I don't know, for people or
Just
looking for
exploring.
something, and we introduced ourselves, and it was like, oh, you're pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I just went exploring. It was my first night at Michigan Masters, my first like major tournament that wasn't like Northern Conference or something. So I just went exploring. At the time, I had my daughter with me, and we were just kind of wandering around and learning, and and then I think that's how we met, and fucking it's been a magical romance ever since. So look, let's get this thing started. Let's bring on the hard hitting questions. What got you into fighting games?
Okay, so I knew this was coming. Obviously, this was other people, and there's not actually a direct answer to this. But when I thought about it, there's really 3 different points in time, or like 3 answers that I can put together to make this. First one, I started playing video games in the 80s, late 80s, when I was a kid, and like anyone else around that age, that time, early 90s hit, and Street Fighter 2 came out, and it was the absolute hottest thing in the world to see that game, to play it. Everyone played it a little bit. I got it for the Super NES, and really loved the game. And then fighting games were huge, and I liked fighting games and played, a whole bunch, rented them from Blockbuster or wherever. I was never any good at them at all as a kid. I really played against the AI all the time, or my sister, who is 5 years younger than me and did not play any video games, but only played because I forced her to, because I needed someone to play Street Fighter 2 against. So I really love fighting games, played a bunch, played Clay Fighter, Mortal Kombat, all the junk games that came out at that time and stuff. Give them a shot. Kept buying them and having fun with them, just going through single player modes and stuff. Got to some later systems, bought Rival Schools, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and was never any good at them, like I said, but I'd play them. But then when I got into college, in these days, I was into competitive games, playing DDR. And was going to DDR tournaments, and had gotten to know a lot of the Michigan scene for that. And there were a couple people in college at Michigan State that were in the DDR tournament scene, that were also at school there. So we'd meet up and go to the arcades weekly at the time. And then we happened to find out one semester 3 of us were all in the same chemistry class. So it was like, well, shoot, why don't we get together and do the homework, but also practice our video games and stuff. And so we'd play DDR while working on homework and kind of not really working on it. And then sometimes people started bringing other games to this. They were all fans of fighting games too. And the game that became really big for us to play every single week was Guilty Gear X2. And they were all much better than me, but this is where I finally started to learn how to get good at fighting games, and had some friends to play with all the time, and really fell in love with Guilty Gear as a game at that point in time. I still wasn't that good, but I could do some things at that point in time. So anyways, kept playing fighting games every now and then. But when Street Fighter 4 hit, I got that. I got to play online on a fighting game and finally tried to play against a wide range of people because online play presented that new territory. And again, had a lot of learning to do, but I had, 20 years of fighting game love built up here or close to it when that game came out, and finally decided to put the time in to play that game and learn it and get good at it. And yeah, and that's kind of where I started to get into wanting to do competitive stuff and the tournament scene. So Street Fighter 4 was kind of where that took that final leap for me.
Yeah, a true 09er. Getting into the scene.
Definitely. Although, yeah.
Well, I mean, look, it was a long path, but fucking, it drew you in. It finally got here. Rival Schools was one that, like, as a kid, I never really, I think we rented it one time, or somehow it made its way into my house, and I, like, have vague recollections of playing it, but then I never touched it except for that one time. And then just last year at Michigan Masters, they had a Rival Schools 2 arcade, or a cabinet there, and I played the shit out of that. I must have spent like 3 or 4 hours on that fucking arcade.
Yeah, it's a fun one, and I like the unique style of that. More games need to do something.
Yeah,
like video games in general need to be like, here's our weird aesthetic, and that's what we're doing.
Right, fucking ain't that the truth? I would be so down for a third Rival Schools, or like even localizing the second one. I think that'd be just excellent. Man, that'd be so awesome. But that's the other thing I was gonna say is that you play Guilty Gear. I won't say more than Street Fighter V, but you've also put in a ton of work for Guilty Gear too, which is a title that I wish I had picked up more outside of like just casually playing every now and then. But like, I never had a scene, so I would like buy I think probably every other or every third Guilty Gear title that's come out, and like fuck around with it, but never do anything serious. But goddamn, that game looks cool as hell in action.
It does. It looks fantastic. It's always been just so fun to watch people play and be able to do this stuff because there's a lot of routes you can go with anything in that game. It seems like it's not as structured as some fighting games are, I guess.
Yeah.
To put it with like the way neutral flows from far away to in close, and I feel, at least for me, there was a lot to learn as a result of that. Like, even though I played all that Guilty Gear when I was younger, and then went to tournaments and got Xrd when it first came out, and was like, I gotta sign up for tournaments. I had years of like 0-2 at that game, at everything. Even though I've been competing in Street Fighter for years at that point in time too, but Guilty Gear, it can be a lot to learn for some people because there's so much going on so fast, and you have to like get it all in your brain and spit it all right back out. So.
Oh, fucking tell me about it. I will say it is a lot to learn, but just fucking around in like the cast of characters that they have really makes me want to keep on coming back to it and like playing the shit out of it.
Yeah, they make it fun just from a simple level with the way everyone appears and the variety and everything. So yeah,
it really is something. All right, well so those are the fighting games that you played. But what was your first video game? You're an old man like me, so if I had to guess, I'm gonna say Duck Hunt and Mario Brothers on the same cartridge.
That was the first video game I owned.
Oh shit.
I maybe played something before it. I'm not sure if Super Mario Brothers was the first one I played or not, but when I was a little kid, our next door neighbor had an NES, and I know my dad borrowed it so I could play it. I think before he actually wanted to invest in it and buy one for me, he wanted to see if I know what's going on or if I even cared. And,
right.
So I know the neighbors had Super Mario Brothers, but I know we had a couple other games we borrowed from them, so it might have been something else. But then I got the system either when I was like 3 or 4 for birthday or Christmas, really young, and Mario Brothers Duck Hunt was the game that came with it, and that was where I started there, and still have the NES to this day. It's still going strong, and a whole bunch more video games.
Oh man, I don't know what they built those NESs out of, but goddamn, those things last forever. Mine is still running, like even with like the hinge missing for the fucking door, like it's just dust just gets in there all the fucking time. That thing, you blow in it 1 or 2 times, it works. It runs well enough.
They're built super well, because even like the insides, it was getting really bad several years ago, and I kind of like cleaned it out and cleaned the contacts, and then it's been running like perfectly fine since then. Like I've once since I got it like 30 something, like really had to do anything with it, and you know, just every once in a while with those games, take the like rubbing alcohol and Q-tip and clean up the contacts so the games can respond. But some of those games I own that I've had as a kid, you know, I had the little sleeves to put the cartridges in so they didn't get the dust in there and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Some of those games I can still pop in the Nintendo, and first try they will start right up. Like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I can put that in like right now, and it'll just be like, all right, here's the title screen, and I was more likely I'll have that work than the like blinking screen or anything.
I was just gonna say, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is the one game I can fucking pop in, and it has a crack in the fucking case of the game, and I can pop that thing in and it'll fire up. That one in Bayou Billy and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles will fire up right fucking now. But like Mario Brothers 3 or Metroid or Zelda, got to get like the 98% alcohol and like swap out the connectors. Like Newman says in the chat, that 30 pin was garbage, and goddamn, yeah, they really are. I should address this really quick. For anyone listening in the future, I say Newman because Newman's in the chat right now, and you could be too on twitch.tv/SrirachaFlash, where we stream all of these interviews live, and then we put them out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, all that fun stuff later on. But if you'd like to join us, twitch.tv/SrirachaFlash. We normally do these interviews around 8 o'clock Eastern time, so you can hang out, join with us then. I'm going to work on putting an actual schedule up on my Twitch page so people can kind of see when it's going to happen and plan this shit out. So that's that. So if you hear us talking to people in the chat or answering questions from people in the chat, that's what that is. So you are no longer confused. But yeah, that 30 pin is Boo Boo Butt Cheeks. I remember that our Super Nintendo they had the second generation Super Nintendo that didn't have the 2 sliding levers. It had a button to reset and then like one slider up for the power.
Yeah.
But that thing was super fucking super sensitive. So when we would turn it on, we'd have to set it on a throw pillow. So that way if anyone stomped by, it wouldn't shake the console and make the game freeze.
Oh, like it would shake around and then the cartridge would wiggle loose. And
the cartridge would wiggle loose. So we would just set that thing on a throw pillow so it was elevated above the ground. So if anyone stomped by, it didn't bother the SNES and we could keep playing.
Man.
Oh, man. It was just a pain in the ass. Just a pain in the ass. Anyway, but that's just me. Oh, my God in heaven. So before we continue on, I have to ask, because you love Mega Man, I love Mega Man, so I have lots of questions to ask. What started the love affair with Mega Man?
It probably goes back to the same, when I was a kid, I got Mega Man 2 when I was really little. And, you know, it was one of my favorite games. And obviously Mega Man, they just pumped those things out like crazy back then. So, you know, then it was like the next year it was like, can I get this Mega Man game for Christmas? Or can I get this one for my birthday? Like, I need more Mega Man. And there was always more Mega Man there. So it was like the desire as a kid I had to have, and I was never satisfied because it's like, oh shoot, there's a 6th one and I don't have it yet. Like, oh my God, I need to fight more Robot Masters. But yeah, I played them a ton. Mega Man 2 may have been the first game I beaten. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but thinking back, it's probably either that or like Mario 3. So, you know, I played it long enough to be able to beat it as a very young kid. Same with the other Mega Man games on the NES. And then I don't know. It's yeah. I actually got the nickname Rockdan. This goes back into college with that same group of friends. They're one of the games we played was a Mega Man game. We played Mega Man X6 when that was like newish, and we were like, wow, this is something. And then Mega Man X7 came out and it was brand new, and someone bought it, and we were like, wow, what the hell is this?
Oh, that's a waste of $60. That's what that is.
Back to some older Mega Man games, and I was like, look, I've played this a whole bunch and can do stuff, and just kept talking about Mega Man, and then one of my friends, I'm 95% sure it was my friend John, shout outs to John 2DX. He was like, if you're such a big fan of Rockman, we'll call you Rockdan, and that name kind of stuck from there. So,
look, it's a pretty solid name. And for it to be gifted upon you by someone else, also pretty good. Because if I was you, I would have been like, well, that's my fucking name. Like, I was convinced you had thought of that shit yourself. So for someone to bestow it upon you is pretty fucking solid.
Yeah.
Rockdan. Rockdan's a very, very good name.
It was good enough for me to say, okay, I'm going to remember that. Because, before that, I had been just known as Ardan, which this is actually kind of a funny story. That group of friends, when we entered tournaments, a lot of times we just entered with our names. There wasn't always handles and stuff. But there was another Dan in the group. So we had two people named Dan, and at one point someone was like, I need a way to differentiate between you. And the other guy was like, I'm Super Dan, to imply that he was better, and me kind of self-depreciating. I was like, all right, I'll just be regular Dan. I'm not Super Dan or anything. So we entered that way. So it just became like the letter S and the letter R in front of our names and stuff. And so, I had just R and then Dan for a long time. So
that's pretty good. Well, it's
a nice transition to go from that and be like, all right, it's just going to be Rockdan now. Like, we'll give the R a better meaning.
Yeah, for sure. No, Ardan still works, but Rockdan is fucking solid. I think that's where my love for Mega Man came too. Was like Mega Man 2 and Mega Man 3. Because Mega Man 3 had Snake Man, and when I was a kid, I was like, well, that's the fucking coolest boss I've ever seen in a video game. Like, that's the best Robot Master ever. And I played a lot of that, and I remember Needle Man like gave me fits in that game.
Oh yeah.
I think just his level. I don't think Needle Man was that bad, but like his level was awful. And then I didn't play any Mega Man for a long time, and then I remember I had a Nintendo Power, and they had Mega Man 6 in the Nintendo Power, and I saw Tomahawk Man, and I was like, well, shit, I need to play Mega Man 6 now, because they have Tomahawk Man. Like, I gotta fight that guy. And I remember we went to Movies and More, which was like this little mom and pop like movie place where we lived, and they had the case but not the game because someone had it rented out. And I went there every weekend for, I want to say 3 months, and couldn't get it. And finally I got a hold of it, and I played through, and I beat Tomahawk Man with the Mega Buster. And then I was just like, well, that's enough of this game. And then like we had to take it back because I only had it for like a day and a half.
Oh yeah, you had to return those things in like 3 days or 2 days, depending on where you got them from.
Yeah.
No time.
And I was just like, well, that's cool. And then I didn't play it again until I was like 20, I think. Yeah. I was a young adult, and I like played through and beat it. And I think 6 might be one of my favorites of those original games. Like going back on it now, like they just had a bunch of weird ideas and weird bosses. I really like that one. But if I had to put you on the spot, what is the best Mega Man game? Not including the X series.
Okay, so 2 is my favorite. Probably the best. Even some things where people are like, these are the downsides to 2. There are things that I, in turn, maybe it's just internalized from being a youth and having to suffer through it, but I'm like, oh no, this is good actually.
Stockholm syndrome.
people will point to like the Wily 4 boss where you have to use the crash weapon and you're limited and then you die and then you got to go back and do it. But like as a kid, I thought that was like really cool because it was like, wow, like you're tested on getting this right and not screwing it up, and you got to play good at a video game. You can't just mess around with boss. And I thought that was some like seriously cool shit. I was like, yes, like this is so neat that they do this.
Right.
And
they force perfection upon
blocks and stuff. It was like all this deadly stuff, but there were ways around it. And I mean, just from where I was as a kid, I think that's my favorite. But really close behind Mega Man 2. And who knows, maybe as I play more replays in the future, I might change my mind on this, but I would say Mega Man 9 is the closest behind that.
Yeah, Mega Man 9 is really good.
Yeah, it's revival kind of game. It tried to look back at everything good about the old games and bring that back. I think it gave every weapon that you got from the bosses a strong use. They all did something to fight enemies, but most of them also granted you some kind of movement technique as well, whether it's the tornadoes letting you jump higher, the concrete being a little block to jump on, or taking off enemies in some weird direction so you can just keep running through wherever you want to go. And as a result, the whole game flows really well. Like you can run through every level, like just kind of running through it if you play it right. You could stop and fight everything on the way. And that was one of the things I had an issue with Mega Man 10 maybe, was there were too many enemies you had to stop and fight even when you played it well, or you used the same one weapon to get past everything. But Mega Man 9 really required you to use all your weapons. There were just really a lot of different ways you could be going at situations, and I think they did a fantastic job with that one.
All right, fair enough. All right, so if you had to award third place, because I need 3, had to award third place behind Mega Man 2 and Mega Man 9.
And this is just the numbered series?
Yeah, this is just a numbered series.
Probably 3.
Okay. All right.
There was enough strong stuff there. I do have an issue with the Doc robot bosses being totally jank.
Yeah.
They took Mega Man 2 hit robot masters, shoehorned them into Mega Man 3 sprites, hitboxes, weapon resources, and everything kind of comes out slightly janky, and it could have been better in that part, but other than that, 3 is a very good game. So.
Yeah, it's got some jank. But I do like that game. All right, so now X series, the best X game. I know it's 2. I know it's X2. That's the best one. You don't have to say that. I'll say it for you. X2 is the best one. But how does the X series compare to the numbered series for you?
So X series is a little bit lower. There's some great games in the X series, but the X series also had some bigger misses with games. If you've played them, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But
yeah, every X series game has come into my house. Actually, you know what? I own every fucking X game. I'll just throw that out there right now.
There you go.
I own every one, including one of the best RPGs of all time, Mega Man X Command Mission.
It's a tough one to find these days.
It has a real place in my heart.
That's good. But of the X series, I think I was so far in love with regular Mega Man then. It was like, oh, cool, new Mega Man, but also like, you'll never replace old Mega Man. So
yeah.
But of that, I know you misspoke here, but X4 is the best in the series of the X games. You accidentally cut it in half, and I understand.
Yeah,
X2 is very, very good too, and you can get those two mixed up.
Shit, it's even in the name. It's twice as good. It's X4.
And then also, I feel like it is worth mentioning that I have some weird Stockholm syndrome for Mega Man X6.
Look, X6 plays perfectly fine. I
there
have
is
no problems
no
with
reason
6.
people should like have such a love when they play the game, but even though it is like flaming garbage in so many places, I have so much fun playing through X6.
The X6 is good. I have X5 to this day on the PS1 when they had all the bosses named after Guns N' Roses band members.
Yep.
Like Duff McWhalen, fucking incredible.
The Skyfer.
Oh god, it's so good.
Yeah.
And I was really sad when they released the Mega Man X Legacy Collection on PS4 and they changed the names.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, they're no longer like named after the Guns N' Roses band members. They have different names now.
Oh.
Yeah, I was really sad about it. I'll give those a quick Google so I can boss names
Squid
now.
Adler.
Yeah. Now it's Tidal Whale, Volt Kraken, Shining Firefly, Dark Necrobat, and Spike Rose Red.
What?
Yeah, exactly. Not nearly as cool. When they were shit like, hold on, let me fucking pull these things up. Grizzly Slash, Duff McWhalen, Squid Adler, Izzy Glow.
The Skyver is.
Yeah, the Skyver, Dark Dizzy, Matrix, and Axel the Red after Axel Rose.
Oh, that's right, Matrix.
Oh god, yeah, now Matrix is Burn Dino Rex.
Yeah.
The Skyver is Dark Pegasus. Dark Necrobat is now in place of Dark Dizzy. Yeah, just sad times, man. That's such an. I know they changed it because they hated that, like, the localization person, I guess, is the one that named those because her boyfriend or something was like a roadie for Guns N' Roses or some shit.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, and that's why they had those names originally, and then I guess they got upset and they changed the names back. But like, man, it's just like a weird thing in history. I wish they would have kept it.
Yeah, it's in that weird era of localization where they were like actually able to like do stuff. It wasn't just quick translations through no context or whatever. Like they could really get into it, and people were being creative, but there was like also no check when they wanted to be really creative like that. And they you get some localized games from that like PS1 era that it's like, why did they do this? Or like
it used to be the Wild West with that stuff.
Yeah.
Like when I don't know if you know this, but I'm gonna try to get this as correct as possible, but I'm pretty sure that Yohosi did the localization for the ROM version of Final Fantasy VI, or maybe Final Fantasy III. But she worked with a team to do translation for the ROM so we could actually get, because at the time I think it was Final Fantasy III that was Japanese only, because when we got Final Fantasy III it came here as 6.
Yep.
And so her and a team translated the entire game for the ROM. And so like a lot of the ROMs that people like emulate now are her and her team's translation.
Yeah.
And like that shit was always super cool to me. And especially like when I found that out and I was like, oh shit, like Yohosi the DBFZ player, like that's incredible. But yeah, like we either had really bad translation or it never came across, so all we had was like fan translation. Like Mother 3, we'll never get Mother 3 like localized, and it makes me fucking
that disappoints me so much.
Incredibly sad. Yeah, Earthbound and Mother are some of my favorite games ever. And the fact that we'll never get Mother 3, or at least not anytime soon, it looks like, makes me incredibly sad.
Same.
I had hope for it when they did the Game Boy Advance, like the Game Boy Advance store on the Wii U.
Oh yeah.
And then even the 3DS, I was like, oh man, like they might finally announce Mother 3. They're like finally gonna localize it, and then it never came. And then the Switch came around, and the Switch got rid of that system, and I was like, oh my heart. Oh, it's...
yeah. Which, at least with Mother 3, the team that did localize it for us as a fan job, they did a fantastic job with it. So
yeah, that's how I had to play it.
People were able to experience the game, and I'm really grateful for that.
Right. I mean, I played it totally legally on my Japanese GBA, and I just read the patch notes that the script that someone wrote. I totally didn't emulate that game.
Yeah, of course.
Fucking, I would never.
As long as you delete the ROM within 24 hours, you're good.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Exactly.
that's how it goes, right?
Yeah, allegedly, if you own the physical copy, it's okay to emulate it.
Yeah.
Uh, I own it somewhere. I just can't find it right now. That's oh god. All right, so fucking before I get myself in trouble, uh, back to fighting games.
Oh yeah.
So I hope you are planning on attending Michigan Masters this year.
Should be.
Time permitting and parent permitting, I understand. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But have you gotten the chance to travel much? And is there an event like on your slate that you're hoping to get to, either this year or in the future?
So really, since I've gotten into competitive fighting games, I've kind of traveled to the same set of tournaments, for as far as big tournaments go. And it's been not all in the same year, but I've gone to UMaCon for their stuff, Michigan Masters, the years that's happened, Frosty Faustings a few times, Combo Breaker / UFGT formerly, and Evo, and all those for a few times for that. So those are like the big ones I've been to. And currently I'm not sure what I'll be able to make time for outside of like Michigan Masters. I actually have not traveled out of the state since my daughter was born, so everything's been within Michigan. So I'm not entirely sure where I would go yet. But as far as places I might want to go, I also don't have one specific dream tournament I want to go to, but there's just been ones that come across that seem interesting over time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure like a lot of people, CEO and CEO Taku, they look like they'd be fun to go to. I haven't been to either of them. And there's always that dream of what if I make top 8, I can pick some cool song, and then everyone thinks about what their song will be, but you're not going to make top 8. So. But, that's always come up on my brain as like, it'd be good to go to that someday. Other ones I've heard, Climax of Night, it seems like everyone that's gone to that has had a fantastic time. I'm not even that big into Eunice. I mean, I enjoy Eunice, but I'm definitely not good at it. So, but like, it seems like it would be just a good time to be there. I don't know. There's probably some other more regional tournaments. They have out in Seattle area. What is that? Northwest Majors that's out there.
Yeah.
That's looked like a good time when I watched that one too. I don't know. I don't know if that's one that'll ever happen though, but there's some other ones that I think would be a good time, but nothing that's like, this is the one I have to go to. I think I've been a little bit lucky to be in the Midwest where Combo Breaker has happened, which is the like big, everyone comes to this tournament. And that's within driving distance. It's a few hours, but we can make it there without having to catch a flight and stuff. So that between that and already taking a couple trips to Evo in the past, that's fulfilled my immediate need or like near future need of I need to go to something big and unique. Like I've managed to do that now. So I think maybe something more focused on some games with a great community is what I'd be looking for in a tournament if I travel to in the future.
Okay. I mean, look, yeah, it sounds like you've gotten most of your traveling out of the way already. So anything else, like on top of this, is just icing on the cake. As far as like continuing to travel and go to events.
Yeah, I have been going to stuff since 2012, which I thought about it today. That's been a long stinking time, which I still feel like I'm new in the community because when I started, people have been going for years before that, and but yeah, it's been like over 7 years I've been going to stuff.
I was gonna say, as of this year, it's 8 years of traveling now.
Yeah,
it's crazy. You touched on it lately, but I kind of want to talk to you about this because it's something that I deal with too. How have you balanced like being a dad and then also like still practicing and competing in fighting games?
Yeah, so I guess to go before my daughter was born, that final year when we know she was coming and stuff, I kind of had a couple tournaments I was planning on going to, and was like, all right, I got to get the most out of this. This will be my farewell tour. I'm never going to have time with a kid to do fighting games. I see people that have kids and stop. Like, it maybe just can't happen. So, tried to hang out with everyone I could, have a good time, enter every game I could. I was like, I got to make the most of this, and really went all in that last year before she was born, which was a year and a half ago she was born. And then, like I also touched on earlier, since my daughter came along, I haven't traveled outside the state of Michigan. And so really setting aside time for that's been a little difficult. Not in the fact that like I can't make it happen, but like I also want to spend time with my daughter, especially in these early years where every week is entirely different and she's learned something new that you've never seen before. I want to be there for all that and stuff. And there's a lot of work in keeping track of her now. And I don't want to leave my wife alone with my daughter for too long if I don't have to, because, for me to go have fun playing games for several days and for my wife to solo be with the kid, it's a lot of work for her, and I respect her time enough to not do that more than I really have to. So I haven't done as much traveling, but my wife's helped me make it happen, do some stuff within the state of Michigan, get a one day across the state local event, go to Michigan Masters or UMaCon, whatever I can fit in. And then I haven't maybe put as much time into practicing fighting games, which I kind of anticipated, but I have apparently still kept up on them, which is surprising to me in terms of like not regressing or still gaining skill. I have found taking time to read about things, like rewatching matches, or you can get just as much out of that as you can playing the game. So there's been a lot of learning that way that I maybe didn't get as well before, that I found, hey, I can watch people do combos and just think about it in my head rather than like practicing it a ton in front of the system, and then really think about what the hard parts are, what I need to work on with that before I even sit down and try it. And then I've already mentally put in some of the work for it. And I think having a kid has actually helped me optimize my practice time in the fighting games and stuff. Make a little more of that and a little less kind of just messing around in practice mode and not doing anything in particular. So,
right. I mean,
in that regard, I think, time management, it's helped me out with that, because time's a little harder to come by, and then I gotta be able to jump in and be like, all right, like I am getting this now, and maybe have a little more focus on things. So
yeah, that's the one thing I found too, is I'm like, I don't have a lot of time, so like try to get it where I can, So like when I hop on, like just gotta be ready to go, like no warm up time. I have maybe 45 minutes to an hour max, and then like back to doing parent stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much about how I feel too. Is like when I went to Combo Breaker last year, and I've been going to Michigan Masters. Like I feel there's a part of me that's like I enjoy doing this. It's super awesome, but like leaving my wife at home with the kids, I'm like, man, I there's a part of me that makes me not like regretful, but like I feel for her, and I appreciate the shit that she does, because it is
agreed.
It's a big thing, to be gone for 3 days. So this year, in order to circumvent that, I'm dropping the kids off at my brother's house, and I'm just bringing my wife with me to Michigan Masters. That's how we're getting around that situation.
And it's something with that too, where I know maybe it's different from person to person, but like our nearest family member is over an hour drive. So if I wanted to have someone watch the kids, it's either you got to drive out of our way to get them somewhere like that, or it is just my wife. So
all right, so we're actually in the same boat. My nearest family member is an hour away in Mount Pleasant.
Okay, yeah.
And so when we drop the kids off, our plan is, to take them there with my brother, and he knows them really well. And now Opal's older, by the time we do this, she'll be 4. So
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more lenient about doing it, but like doing it last year or the year before, she just turned 3, and before that she was 2. Like, there's no way. But at this point, she'll be 4, so like
Yeah.
she, not taking care of herself, but like she's old enough to understand like what's happening a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
So like, but yeah, we have to drive an hour down there to Mount Pleasant, and then like hop over to I-75, then head down to Detroit for Michigan Masters,
Yeah.
which is like, yeah, that's the same thing. Like, if my wife, uh, wants to do anything or I want to do anything, usually one of us just stays home with the kids,
Yep.
because
Same here.
we have no like family options in order to watch the kids at all.
Yeah.
My sister-in-laws both have, one has 2 kids, the other one has, I think, 5 or 6 at this point. I'm not sure, but they're always so busy with all their stuff going on. They work super busy jobs, so like they can't do it, and like I don't have, I don't really have a relationship with like my mom or shit like that. She's like out in North Dakota anyway, so like that doesn't matter. So she's just gone. Like everyone is just like scattered. No one can do it. So yeah, if we ever want to do anything, it's like one person is doing a solo parent job while the other person goes out and does stuff.
Yeah. It can take some, tricky planning too, because last year's Michigan Masters, for example, that first day was on Friday, and my wife had to work that day, so I got up early in the morning, got my daughter to daycare. As soon as I dropped her off to daycare, I shot straight down to the tournament venue because games were starting Friday. Made it just a little bit before Street Fighter started, and then had to play Street Fighter 5 matches, and then my wife got out of work later, and then picked up my daughter from daycare, and then watched her. But I definitely dropped her in daycare, and then drove halfway across the state, and was like, all right, see ya.
At this point, I'm convinced me and you are just the same person.
Yeah.
Because that day, literally that Friday, I dropped my oldest off at high school, and from there just booked my ass down to Michigan Masters. Got out of the car, like ran inside. It still wasn't like late enough in the day for me to like check into my room, and I know I ran into you like in the lobby and shit like that. And, like we talked for a little bit, and you had to go play matches. And I think my pools were at like 2:00, so I had to go play matches. That was certainly something. Goddamn. What a time. When your daughter gets old enough, are you going to introduce her into the competitive fighting game scene? Or is that something you'd rather like she just kind of finds on her own, or just keep it separate entirely?
I think, I guess to start here, just with video games in general, I'm sure I'll definitely introduce her into those. She can learn. I've got plenty of games that are definitely appropriate for a younger kid, that she can play. She enjoys them. I'm not gonna discourage her from playing games and stuff like that. So if she gets into video games, I'm fine with that. If I'm still going to tournaments, I'm not gonna hide what I'm doing or keep it a secret. I maybe won't have her watch streams without kind of knowing the content on them, because stream commentary and stuff isn't always PG.
Yeah.
G rated.
Shout out to Yipes.
Or maybe would have my wife mute the stream if they watch it or something like that.
Right.
But I wouldn't hide it, but I wouldn't not like, hey, look at what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But if she so desires at some point she wants to go, she shows interest, she wants to do that, I think I'm not going to be, no, don't do it. She's too young for me to know what she's going to be interested in or anything, but I want her to have some interest, and I want to encourage those, whether it's that or sports or art or, anything that comes across as an activity for her to get into and, try and learn hard work outside of like a school setting and that kind of stuff. So if that's her thing is going into that, I'll encourage it. I know presently it's harder being a woman in the fighting game scene, and a girl, little girl. I hopefully when she gets there, things will be better. But it might be a struggle for her at the time, and I think having a little girl, I prepared myself before she was even born that there are going to be things in life that might be a little harder for her to get into than it was for me or for other guys and stuff, just based on the gender. And if she does run into any of those struggles, am prepared to fight for her to be accepted or, get in an equal situation where she needs to. So, yeah, so I guess to summarize, I'm not going to push it strongly, but, if that's what she shows interest in, then sure.
Yeah. I mean, I just thought I'd ask because, as guys that are our age, a lot of guys within the FGC and, like, even just the esports community at large are starting to, like, have kids and have families and stuff like that. So yeah. I'm curious to see the rise of, like, esports dads, like football dads, that, like, I grew up with and around and shit like that. So I'm curious to see how that's going to turn out and what that's going to be like. Because
especially as more people have kids to bring to tournaments too.
Yeah.
They either have kids interested in or they can't get rid of them somewhere for the weekend and they got to bring them in. Like, will there be more family friendly tournaments in the future or?
Right. Or like, are those parents going to be like the hellion, like football dads that are out screaming at other players and people and shit like that?
Oh God. Yeah.
Like, or like yelling at their kid. Like, I very specifically remember, like, watching a kid that was my age. I think I was, like, 9 or 10. And I remember seeing a kid get, like, slapped in the helmet probably 9 or 10 times by his dad for, like, fumbling the ball in a practice. And I was just like, man, that guy's dad sucks. And where's my dad? Oh, he's not here at all, so fuck it. But, like, I remember just being like, wow, that dad sucks. And, like, you just ran into so many of those guys. Like, you hear stories about dads that, like, what's his name? Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback for Alabama. He's right-handed, and his dad tied his right arm behind his back and made him a left-handed quarterback. Because, like, you got to learn to throw left-handed. Like, what the fuck? And, like, that shit happens. Kids that, like, your dad forces you to use your left hand to brush your teeth and do everything with your left hand. So you're ambidextrous for pitching in baseball. And so I'm scared to see those kind of dads and parents in esports in the future. I'm sure it will happen, but yeah, I'm always curious, for people that have kids, like, because for me, when I'm playing Street Fighter and stuff like that, Opal will come up and Opal's like, oh, it's Street Fighter. Like, she likes Abigail because he's, like, big and cartoony. She likes to play with Ibuki because it's, like, a ninja girl and she thinks that's cool. But, she doesn't really have, like, she's not like, I can't wait to go press buttons. She's just like, oh, this button does something. So if she's ever like, Dad, will you teach me Street Fighter? I'll be like, all right, well, first you got to pick a grappler. That's the first rule. In this house, we main grapplers. But, so, like, yeah, I think I'm about in the same boat where if she shows interest in wanting to play fighting games competitively, I'll be like, hell yeah, like, let's get down. I can't wait. But I'll never be like, all right, look, this is the future, and you're going to fucking sit down and do this, or I swear to God, like, behind the woodshed, I'm just going to smack you in the face. Like, I could never be that type of parent.
It's some of those parents that are just overbearing and stuff and borderline abusive with their kids. I don't know. I don't think that's any way to raise a kid.
Nah, it's weird, man.
I think they're probably that way with everything. Like, the kids you see do that with sports, or their parents do that with sports. They probably do the same thing with school and homework, or taking out the trash and the kid forgot, and you're going to get the same reaction there. And I don't know. I just don't think that's healthy for kid to grow up in that kind of thing. So
no, not at all. Like Dadman in the chat says, it comes with the environment. Folks take their kids to hacking events, and it's really positive. As long as any negativity is barred, it should help with those dad coaches. Yeah, I think that's a big thing too. I don't know if I'm trying to imagine like some dad yelling at his kid at Michigan Masters. I don't think there's any way that like Jay doesn't go up and go, "Hey man, like that's not allowed here." Like that shit doesn't happen.
You get the dad in the crowd standing up, and he's like, "That overhead's -5 on block."
Yeah, like that.
Jimmy,
yeah,
we went over this.
That's the shit over. You're just gonna raw activate. You're just gonna fucking raw activate, like that kind of shit. That's wake up, Super. Are you fucking serious? We drilled this over and over. Like, oh god, yeah, that's the kind of stuff that like I don't think we'll ever see. Hopefully, at least like in a lot of these environments, I think. I hopefully we don't ever see it. I'm sure it's already happened somewhere. I'm sure there's already been a dad just like a kid fucked up an input in a goddamn GameCube controller came flying out of the stands at the screen. Like I'm sure it's somewhere.
I really figure if you do get parents like that, because that's almost like a environment for the kids where like getting angry and upset and raging is almost encouraged then, and then you're gonna have the kids throwing their controllers like crazy, because then you get the kid who gets super angry because that's how they've learned to handle it, and you get, you know, even more of those blow-ups and stuff happening with the kids that you don't need to have at that young of an age. You know, you just gotta have fun with it if you're a kid, playing the game. Or really anyone have fun with it, but especially with the kids.
Fortunately, most of the stories that we do see are like super positive, you know, but that what was it, the 9-year-old kid that Jayuna sponsored to bring over here for Evo, and he was wrecking shop in Dragon Ball Fighters.
I don't think I actually heard about this one.
Oh really? Okay. Oh my god, I will have to try to remember his name off the top of my head again. So this is me trying to remember, but I'll give you the quick rundown of the story. So there's this kid, he oh god damn it. So this kid, he's like 9 years old, and he picked up Dragon Ball Fighters. And they're in Japan. They do the Anime Illuminati, or Jayuna stream. And this kid is really good at Dragon Ball Fighters. And so he wanted to go to these things, and his dad would have to take him, you know, because he's only 9 years old. And the kid got really good. Well, the dad, in order to like understand what his kid is doing, he's in his 40s. He picks up Dragon Ball Fighters. And so now they're both playing at this local together like all the time. And Jayuna did a big thing where he did a fundraiser to send this kid to Evo. And I think that kid ended up placing like top 64 or something like that at Evo. It was something ridiculous. Maybe top 128. But like out of the field of thousands, that kid did really well.
That's impressive.
And there was a really funny story where like the dad and the kid had to fight each other in losers finals of their monthly, and the kid eliminated the dad in losers finals. But yeah, it's just a really good story.
Yeah. This kind of reminds me. This is like more local story. But there's a guy in the Michigan scene. I don't know. I may not be getting this 100% accurate in terms of timeline of events and stuff, but his kid liked fighting games, and you know, he knew fighting games or wanted to learn them more because his kid showed interest, and his kid wanted to go to events, so he learned him to go to events. I think his King Kai was his nickname. And started going to his events so he could make sure they were good to bring his son to, get him there and stuff. But his son was El Chicote. And so so Chicote's dad, you know, was going to Michigan events, and Chicote came, and his dad really kind of encouraged him playing and continuing with fighting games, because Chicote was having a good time and stuff. And you know, it seemed to work out pretty well for him, because Chicote is one hell of a Street Fighter player now. He's really good, but he had that encouragement from his dad playing along with him in the game and stuff. And I think that's one of those same kind of positive stories. It's the kind of thing you like to see.
Yeah, definitely. We have to take a quick break. And then this will just be like 5 minutes, and then we will continue on with this. So just give me like 2 Mississippi's, everyone, and we will be right back.
Okay.
Okay, we're back. Sorry, quick break. Just had to take care of some family business in the house. We should be all good. Really quick, that kid's name from Japan, his name is Tsuyoshi. 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 So he is the one that had to beat his dad. But yeah, Chakotay is a super strong player from Michigan now. And he's on the verge of being sponsored by a lot of people. And hopefully he does really well. But yeah, that's another really good story. Introducing your kids to fighting games is fun. I'm not going to say everyone should do it, but like, if you have in the future, if you have a kid and your kid's like, hey, what's this? Fighting game's not a bad way to bond, you know?
Yeah. Maybe keep them away from like the Mortal Kombat stuff for a little bit longer, or
yeah.
Some of those might be a little much for kids.
Right. Yeah. Listen, I played Mortal Kombat as a kid. Look how I turned out. You want your kids to end up like me? Don't let your kids play Mortal Kombat. At least not until they're like, proper age, like 13 or 14. Oh man. So I've been waiting to hear this now. I need to know, what is your favorite story from the FGC? Because you teased me with a story not long ago.
Oh.
That
yeah. So this one, I don't even know if this is my favorite story, but it's I think possibly an interesting story and probably not something many people know. And this one's more personal to me. But
Perfect.
When I first started going to tournaments, I planned to go to EVO in 2013, which was kind of like that first year I was playing fighting games. So I had just gone to a couple local tournaments. I had gone to UMaCon, I guess, in 2012. Felt, hey, maybe I'm pretty good at this game because I went 2-2 at UMaCon that year. I was really proud of myself, and some friends were going to EVO, so I was like, I'm going to EVO too. I'm going to see how well I match up. I can get maybe some games in against top players in the world. Like maybe I could play against Daigo or whoever. So I was like, I gotta go here just on that off chance that I could play against someone great. So I sign up for everything I can, which is 3 games at EVO that year. I signed up for Street Fighter 4 because that's what I'd been playing the most. I had just started learning Persona 4 Arena, signed up for that. And then I signed up for Street Fighter Cross Tekken, even though I had hardly played that at all. And I was not good at team fighting games. I still struggle with team fighting games. I can't handle 2 people life bars at once or 3. I never will. But I signed up for it because I played it, and I was like, I'm going to enter everything I can at Evo. So ended up with a Street Fighter 4 pool, I think early that first day. And brackets came out. So I was like, all right, let's see who's in my pool. Who do I get to play against? What's my path going to be? Take a look at the top seed in the pool. It is a guy named Daigo. It's the top seed in my pool. And I was like, holy shit, I'm in Daigo's pool. Like, how do I get to fight Daigo? What are my matches? What do I got to win? Because I'm playing against Daigo. So I look, I'm in a 4-pack. That if I win the 4-pack, if I go 2-0, then I'll play Daigo in my 3rd match. So I'm like, all right, sweet. I just got to win 2 matches, and I won 2 games at YumaCon. I can win 2 games at Evo. Take a look in the 4-pack. My very first round opponent is Marn at Evo 2013. in the same pool. So I'm like, oh, I have to fight Marn before I can even get to Daigo. Crap. Like, this is some garbage. Like, why is he in my way? So I started looking online and was like, what does Marn do? Like, what are his tactics? How do I beat Marn? I have to fight Daigo. I study everything I can find about Marn, practice. He'd been playing Dudley at that time. Practicing everything I can against Dudley. I'm like, I have to do this. I have to fight Daigo. So we get to that day of the pool of I faced Marn first round, and I beat him at Evo, which was super exciting in itself for me because I really did not expect that I would beat Marn. He maybe did not play his best. Looking back at the match now, I also didn't play the greatest, but I played well enough to win. And I was like, I did it. I beat Marn. I win one more match, and I fight Daigo. I was like on top of the fight some random guy I've never heard of before who was playing one of the twins, probably young at the time because this is AE 2012. Twins were a big deal.
Yeah, super busto.
He mopped the floor with me, and I lost. So I was like, oh no, I don't get to play Daigo. I lost to random guy after beating Marn in the first round. And I was, But at this time, after losing the match, I'm looking around and I'm like, wait a minute. I don't even see Daigo. Where is Daigo? And Daigo is not here at our pool. And I've already played 2 matches and he's not here. And it's like, okay, like, is Daigo not showing up? Is he going to get DQ'd? But they're running every match they can except for Daigo's matches. And they get through the bracket, and we hit a point where we are at a complete standstill because every match has been run except for Daigo's matches. And everyone in the pool is just kind of sitting there. And it's like, are you going to DQ Daigo? What's going on? We got 15 people here, plus all their friends, plus everyone watching the pool who wants to see Daigo because they saw he's in this pool. And we are all just waiting around. Finally, an hour and 15 minutes into the pool, Daigo shows up. I don't know what the story was or where he was, but he was 75 minutes late to the pool at Evo, and they sat Daigo down, played Daigo's first match, Daigo's second match, Daigo's third match, fourth match. Daigo wins them all. He's out of pool. Great. Gets up, goes. And then they resume the rest of the bracket.
Oh my God.
And we have all just been sitting there doing absolutely nothing for like half an hour. And that was, I think, my introduction as a player to top player privilege in its existence. And then needless to say, that same year, Daigo went and made top 8 in Street Fighter 4. And I was booing him every chance I could get because I was so mad that he made us sit and wait. Everyone else is cheering on Daigo. They're like, I love Daigo. Daigo's the best. And, at that time, everyone was a fan of Daigo. And I was like, I was still so mad that he And maybe he had a good reason, I don't know. And knowing Evo and the amount of like hype Daigo brings to the streams and all their name and stuff, like I'm sure they did not want him DQ'd by any means. But boy, was I mad that he showed up that late to a pool and there was like not even a thought of, okay, maybe he should go to losers or
Yeah.
drop down or something so we can have other people who are here play their matches.
Right. Yeah, that's fucking whack.
Um,
I love Daigo. Daigo's
Yeah.
always been nice to me whenever I've met him. But goddamn, being almost an hour and a half late to your pool, fuck that.
Yeah,
It's
a 2-hour pool window.
yeah, like you take that fucking DQ. God damn.
Oh man. So, I guess maybe the one upside to this though is, like I said earlier, I had signed up for other games, and I played Street Fighter Cross Tekken, which is a game I had hardly any practice in. I had picked up King because he was cool, and he was a grappler, and I wanted to play him in Street Fighter Cross Tekken. And I didn't actually have a second character yet, so I was just kind of picking whoever was easiest. And I went to my Street Fighter Cross Tekken pool, got destroyed in the first match. Went to losers, had a bye, so I technically get like a win, even though I didn't play anyone.
Hey, we take those.
Someone who didn't show up. And then finally, my first like actual match in losers, where I'm 0-1 now. My opponent comes and sits down, and they sit me down next to Tokido to play against. In losers of pools in Street Fighter Cross Tekken, because Tokido lost his very first match. I don't know who he lost to, but it was a huge upset. So Tokido's now going on a storm path through losers bracket in this game. And here's me, who really doesn't know how to play the game yet, or anything. So I got to play against Tokido at least, in a game I don't really play after missing out on Daigo. Tokido perfected me 2 of 4 rounds. And he tried to give me some advice after, with his strong English accent. And really, he could have said anything, and it would have been a good advice because I was no good at that game.
Right, at the time you're still learning the fucking game, and here comes Tokido. Like, it'd be one thing if you're like, oh, Tokido's the first match of my pools. In Street Fighter 4,
Yeah.
But it's Street Fighter Cross Tekken, a game that you're not playing against Tokido, who's now out on a fucking warpath.
Yeah. And that's, in the mindset when you get to losers, you kind of have that like, all right, everyone here is lost. I'll probably get someone else who's just as bad as me. Maybe I can win a match here.
Right. Trying to scrape my way through pools.
Boom. And that, yeah.
Oh, man. Oh. So. Well, look, it's a nice consolation prize. No Daigo, but Daigo was 3 days late. So Taquitos a nice second place trophy for there. It would have been nicer if you would have been able to fight him in a game that you're proficient in. See me in Guilty Gear, Tokido.
Yeah.
Oh man, was that your first year at Evo?
Yes, that was my first year at Evo, and I think in some ways all that stuff contributed to me wanting to go back or really keep going with stuff, because that's maybe more experiences than I think most people would get at one Evo.
Yeah, so your potential opponents in that, hypothetically, the first 5 fights that you had, Marn, Daigo, Tokido, in 2 separate games. That's a pretty fucking solid weekend. Or a solid, that must have been within, the 2-hour time span.
I think those were on separate days, but
okay.
They were...
Yeah, alright, so still, that's a solid weekend of fucking events. God damn. I was really excited for my pool at Combo Breaker, because I was like, if I can beat Arlieth, Bonchan's right there. But it's Arlieth. And and he plays Vega, which is probably one of the worst matchups I have besides Ed and Fong. And I took game 1 and I was like, oh shit, this could happen. Fucking Bonchan's up. I can do this. And then that all slipped away from me. And lost that set 2-1. Then I beat White Bright in losers, and then I lost to Valteria right after that. So I went 1-2 at Combo Breaker. But we had not an hour and a half, mind you. But Bonchan showed up to pools, I want to say a good 25, 30 minutes late. To the point where I think he almost got DQ'd, and they were like, everyone's like whispering to each other, like, "Oh, Bonchan got DQ'd. He's in losers." Like Bonchan, and like so we're all like, "Oh shit!" Like Bonchan's in losers. This is great. He wasn't in losers. Like that wasn't gonna happen.
Breaker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think if they hit the point where they can't run another match, like they're definitely DQing there.
Yeah.
They're not gonna do what Evo did.
Yeah. I think Rick pulls no punches. Rick doesn't fuck around. If one of their like bracket runners gets word that like, hey, Rick wants this person DQ'd, like that's final. Unless you're like in Killer Instinct pools, then you can get away with a little bit more. But but no, Rick's a great guy, and I'm excited to see the new details for Combo Breaker this year. Actually, super excited to see how that goes.
It's all sounding very promising.
Yeah, a little bit more expensive, no longer at the Pheasant Run. But it sounds like people are saving money on the back end because the rooms are going to be a little bit cheaper and stuff like that. So it kind of balances out.
Yeah, I think it's closer to the airport for people coming in from out of town. And so less Uber taxi money. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I'm excited to see what that does. But, all right, so I know earlier you said you had 2 stories. Does that cover both stories? Because that was pretty solid. But if you have a personal story, more than welcome to bring it on.
I mean, that's more the personal one. I know you were asking just stories from fighting games.
Yeah, it could be personal otherwise, but yeah, if you have more, bring them on in.
Yeah, I think just favorite thing that I saw, I mean, probably a lot of people say this and you'd hear it before, but one of the other years at EVO, I forget what I was doing. I think I was out at the casino until 5 a.m. or something like that. I'm pretty sure actually that's what I was doing before the finals day. Because, I was out of everything and was like, I'm just going to keep going and having fun. And I was out super late and I was like, there's no way I'm watching any of the first 3 games tomorrow. But just on the off chance I wanted to, I set an alarm for 8 a.m. so I could get up and go watch the first game on the 2% chance I could actually crawl out of bed. Alarm went off and I was like, all right, I'll go see Blaze Blue top 8, whatever. And managed to make it down. And I'm really glad I did because that was the year Galileo came back on Big Girl in the most stunning fashion. Maybe the most exciting full set of a game I've ever seen. Just that whole morning was started off magically because of that. So that was the most exciting thing I've seen that I wasn't really involved in.
Yeah, that's sorry, I got yelled at in my ear as that was happening. Yeah. Sorry, I got distracted. Now I have Opal yelling in my ear. No, that's actually I don't think I've heard that one yet. That might be the first. I think you might be the first person that has brought it up. I could be wrong.
Okay.
So, but
are you at least familiar with that game, or?
Yeah, slightly, a little bit. I don't have the deepest background in it, but I know just around the basics enough where I can identify things that happen. And I've watched Kizzy K play a lot, so I kind of have a little bit of an idea, but I know enough where I can communicate about the game and be like, I know some of this shit, not a lot.
I think it was especially exciting that year because Dogura at the time was playing Blaze Blue like he was some kind of robot or machine, like he was winning everything, and everyone was like, Dogura is just going to win all of EVO. It was very highly assumed that he would, and there was no stopping him, and it was there's no holes in his play. He's just doing everything right, and also, he's got the top tier character, so he's going to steamroll EVO, and he did all the way until grand finals, and then that comeback happened, which nobody expected. It almost looked like just the going through the motions the whole way through, so until the tide turned. So it was just knowing that much, it was it adds so much to it.
Yeah,
I think.
I mean, Dogura, he's kept a solid play forever. That, it's so funny to see him enter Tekken, and he's still 100% solid in everything he does. Like he just every like in Dragon Ball Fighters and Street Fighter Five, and like
Yeah.
every time I see him, I'm like, God, like his fundamentals are so incredibly solid. It just translates to every game that he touches.
Yeah. The more I've played games, and I've seen people like that transfer just between game to game and be good, but yeah, the more fighting games I've played and just entered for fun or tried to learn a little bit, there definitely is like stuff that just transfers straight across the board or makes it so much easier to learn each additional game you add on. Um, yeah, the more you do it, the more it becomes simple to just go through the motions to get to where you need to know. But I still respect when people can play at that high of a level across all those games, because it's not easy to do it with one, let alone who knows how many.
Yeah, yeah. That's I enter multiple games at tournaments knowing that I'm probably gonna go 0-2 at best, 1-2. Like if I get a DQ, and so I'll enter like 5 or 6 games at a tournament. But there's no way I could be as proficient as so many of these guys are at them. Like it blows my mind. It blows my mind that you can do it. Like you're like to be proficient in Guilty Gear and Street Fighter and Windjammers, which Windjammers is just a fucking excellent beast, anyways. But yeah, like that shit blows my mind. Yeah,
I still feel like I have a long way to go in all those too, but
I mean, yeah, we all do. We all do. We're not.
I think it's the eternal thing with fighting games is no matter where you are, there's people above you, or even if you say, "Hey, I reached my potential," there's another step to go, or the next tournament, the people you beat are practicing to get better, and now they're back to better than you, and you have to keep up. And it's always something that you can improve upon or change in your game. And
yeah. I mean, that's the eternal lesson of life, right? Like, the minute that you think you have everything figured out is the minute that you will continue to stop growing and you will eventually fail.
Yeah, it definitely is, though, for someone who played a lot of single-player games growing up and wanted to get good at every video game. I played all those Nintendo games, and I was like, I have to beat them. And all those games I played had an end goal where it's like, all right, I did it. I can beat the game. I'm good at it. I can beat Castlevania 3, or I can beat, Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Like, I'm good at this game. And then you get to fighting games, and it's like, all right, here's what I have to do. And you're like, I'm good at the game. And then you show up at the next tournament, and it's like 1-2, and you got beaten by this Wake Up Ultra. And it's like, wow, I got to work hard to be good again. It's definitely a change in that, and I think it helps though for people who maybe are competitive or get the enjoyment that I don't know if the enjoyment will ever like wear away of that. I have to get better at it because there isn't that specific I'm where I want to be now, because there's always moving goalposts that you're chasing after, and room to keep growing with them.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's probably the biggest allure for me for fighting games is there's not really an end goal, at least not that I have set. Right now I think the journey is just keep traveling, hang out with friends, and try to get better.
Yes.
And get better to do better, I guess, so that way I can play more people and be more successful. But like, I don't know. I don't think any of us ever started playing fighting games with the goal of like, I gotta get good enough to win Evo. Then as soon as I win Evo, like I'm done. Like I'm gonna hit that pinnacle, then I'm fucking out.
And I think you just touched too on something that I think is really important that maybe not everyone realizes when they get into the. But you go to play the games and do well and keep improving. But going to all these tournaments has really showed me like you got to go and try to like hopefully make friends or meet people that you can connect with there. It adds so much more enjoyment. Everyone there base level has fighting games as an interest, so you've already got like that instilled in there to work around. But there's so many great people I've met at these tournaments that make it easier to keep playing and keep trying too. And I think you actually pointed this out last Michigan Masters, because we were talking and saying hi to people as we walked by and saying something, and you were like, "You know too many damn people, Dan," or something like that. And uh, and I think that's come from just playing a whole bunch of different games and getting to know people from all the like pockets of scenes that like that style of game or that specific game or series. And um, I've just gotten to know so many people that I've run into some really good friends that I don't know if I would have met them outside of this, but there have been people that I met 8 years ago that I'm still in contact with now, and I want to be in contact with for a long time. And I think that helps keep the interest too in fighting games, is having people you look forward to seeing at the events, and having an atmosphere where people are welcome to have fun and enjoy themselves.
Yeah, it really is, and I think the Michigan scene does that really well. I think the Midwest scene in general does that really well, of creating a place that's welcoming and like allows people to kind of grow and flourish.
Yeah.
But yeah, so look, we're wrapping up pretty close to time on this one. I'll throw it out to the chat. If chat has any questions for Rockdan, feel free to throw them at us. Any questions about Mega Man, about fighting games, about his wonderful Evo journey, where he fought three of the strongest players in the world in 2 separate games. Yeah, anything you want to throw at us, go ahead while I give this last question to Rockdan from me. It's not really a question. This is just a platform. Open statement for you, for anything you want to get off your chest, anything you want to talk about, anything that's been bothering you, or anything that you're just like really happy with. This is your platform to say whatever you want. So I'll throw it to you, Mr. Rockefeller Daniel.
So this is, I think, the thing that you said you would do that I did not really think through well enough. But, I mean, I got stuff I can touch on or bring up, but nothing specific like this is the point I want to drive home.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I say that, but like it doesn't have to be super duper serious or like.
Yeah, well, I can ramble about a handful of things. I guess totally not related to any of this, but I'll throw out there I'm a big hockey fan. I really love the Red Wings, but I love the sport of hockey a lot to watch it all the time. And I think maybe I told you, but I've watched at least part of every single Red Wings game this year because I'm such a big fan. And they are doing absolutely terrible.
Well, hey, look, we just beat the Canadians yesterday. So, like...
They did. They have 11 wins out of 44 games now, which they only have to win or make up 6 games of ground on the team ahead of them to be in the top 30 teams of the NHL. So they'll be there any day now. But if anyone that plays fighting games is a hockey fan too and ever wants to talk to me about hockey or watch that, I'm always down for that. I have a good time getting into that. That's one of the things that's like a really strong hobby of mine that maybe doesn't cross over well with fighting games that well, so people don't know that about me. So
hey, look, that's all right. Like I'm super big into football, so like that also doesn't translate well across fighting games. So I get it. I was just gonna say, from like scores that I remember hearing, like checking out and like because I think the Red Wings are the only team native to Michigan that I'm like I give a shit that they're from Michigan, so that's why I follow them. And I follow them loosely, but like well enough to understand like what's going on. And I was gonna say like, man, I don't remember any games being like blowouts this year. Like they've all been like within a couple points. And then like scrolling through the schedule, like, the Jets won by 5, like it was 5-1. The Flyers beat us 6-1. The Capitals beat us 5-2.
There was a point in the season where the Red Wings had let the opponent score 5 goals or more often than they had held them to less than 5 goals, which when teams are scoring an average of 3 goals per game in hockey, like that's no good.
Oh my god. Yeah, the Maple Leafs beat us 6-0, Flyers beat us 6-1, and then Capitals 5-2. Good, googly moogly. So, it has certainly been.
Sometimes I'm like, why am I still watching this? But worth throwing out as a shout out that no one listening to this even cares about or whatever. But I do post on a Red Wings blog called Winging It in Motown. It's part of the SB Nation site.
Okay.
But I can talk to people about the games when I watch them there, and it kind of helps with those like really terrible losses. But I think that's been really good because they have a very welcoming, inclusive community. One of those places where they encourage people to watch their language. People in sports, there's a big problem where people will be like, "Oh, that player is a sissy," or use kind of language like that, and they really try and keep that stuff out of there and just focus on the more positive takes and more welcoming atmosphere and things that aren't insults based on gender or any of that stuff.
Yeah,
And,
actual like constructive like talking about the team.
yeah, and it's really helped being able to talk to that and have a welcoming atmosphere. And some of that I see, and it's like, this is stuff that makes some of the tournaments fun too that I go to for fighting games and events, and I'm glad I have outlets like this to enjoy my hobbies with other people in this kind of a setting. And I think that really helps people go a long ways to having a good time.
Okay, yeah, that definitely. Turning towards the chat, Dadmin wants to know, what is an unspoken or maybe subtle thing that helps you set aside game time from your family time?
Is that saying, like, how do I not let them overlap?
Yeah, or, like, what's like, oh, like, I'll do this, so, like, I know I'll set aside time to do this, like, maybe it's during nap time. I know that's what, like, my biggest ones were.
For the most part, like, this time of night here after my daughter goes to bed has definitely been when I can get into video games. After she's asleep. Same thing with nap time. I used to, after work, I'd come home and sometimes play a video game for a little bit until we were getting closer to dinner time or something. But whether unspoken or not, I come home and my daughter's there and I need to spend time with her until she sleeps and, with my wife and get through dinner and get my daughter to bed. And then I can worry about video games and stuff. So it just kind of happened that it divides itself up, and the nap time is really nice now that as she's younger. When that evaporates as she gets older, that might be a little more of a struggle because that hour or two in the middle of the day. But it just kind of worked out, and I have always been more of a nighttime person. I have more energy later in the day than I do early on, so when she goes to bed and it's like, all right, like, and now I can play some video games and I've got the energy for it. I'm not like, I have to sleep now.
Right.
So.
TK Shadow wants to know, who's your favorite Robot Master and why is it Airman?
So, funny fact.
I actually fucking hate Airman.
My favorite Robot Master is actually Bubble Man.
Okay.
Mega Man 2. I don't really know if there's even a specific reason why, but it's just always been that. He's got that weird room where there's instant death threat at all times. They're fighting him. He has that. I think he has the best music in Mega Man 2. Maybe that helped. That's my favorite song from that game is Bubble Man Stage. Stage is really fun. I learned how to do that zip through the ceiling in that stage and had a blast with that when I found out. Airman, I actually used him as an avatar over Bubble Man because I tried to coordinate a theme on a website with like a banner and an avatar and stuff, and his color palette actually was easier to use, and the background from the stage wasn't all like weird patterned and stuff. It was just blue sky. So it was actually easier to use Airman stuff when just coming up with like a website theme online. So I picked that over Bubble Man at the time, and then mostly out of laziness, never changed the avatar to anything else.
So just out of necessity, Airman came to be. All right.
It was more Airman just kind of worked out. And then there was that song about Can't Beat Airman that was super popular. And Airman became more popular or more well-known. And
I mean, he really did.
Yeah.
I had to put this up because I actually really like the background of Bubble Man's theme. So Newman wants to know, let me find it. Are you watching AGDQ at all this week? Do you even care? And if so, is there a run you're looking forward to seeing or have seen?
So I usually watch some of the games done quick. Like we kind of touched on earlier with the kid and making time for her versus video games and stuff. There's huge chunks of the day where I'm not going to watch the runs. Like I can't when I'm at work or when I'm sleeping or in the evening when I'm home with her. Um, I did watch the Zelda relay or most of that last night. Um, that was pretty interesting. Zelda 1's a fun game to watch speed ran. Zelda 2 I had never seen in a speed run before, so I had a good time with that. Run I'm looking forward to. I think I maybe missed it. I actually have the schedule open on a tab on my computer, so I'm scrolling through now. But Shinobi 3 happened while I was at work today. That game, I'm going to throw it out there. Shinobi 3 is my favorite Sega Genesis game. There's a whole lot of unique movement, weapons in that. I've never watched a speed run of it. I have to imagine there's a lot you can do with that. And I think it would be really interesting to see all the like wall jumping, ceiling climbing, double jumping, and head stomping, and all kinds of weird stuff worked out into a speed run for that game. So at some point, I'm going to go back and watch Shinobi 3. I'm hoping that's as good as I'm making it out to be in my head.
Listen, I'm sure it will be. Like, I guarantee it will be because I think I own the first Shinobi on the Sega Genesis. I'm like looking up screens right now to make sure like that's the one I was thinking of, and it might have been called something different. But like, I'm
is it Shadow Dancer?
Maybe Shadow
Dancer was one of the other ones, but it was not named straight up Shinobi.
Yeah, no, wasn't that? Maybe it was Revenge of Shinobi. I think it was Revenge of the Shinobi.
Okay.
But I remember like that game was really because you had like the lightning powers and shit. That was the game. And then Shinobi 2 had like Mecha Godzilla that you could fight.
Yeah, all the weird movie ripoff.
Yeah. Those were fucking weird games, man. But I really enjoyed those games. I remember you started off Shinobi 3 like riding on horseback. Man, now I'm gonna have to go watch this fucking speedrun. Those are super good games. Yeah, god damn it. All right, now you talked me into it. TK Shadow wants to know: did you beat more games than you bought in 2019?
The answer to that is yes. And he knows about this just because we've talked. I use the website Backloggery to track my games and my progress on them.
I was just creeping that like before we went live.
It's let me bring this up here, and I've actually been on that site for 11 years apparently.
Damn.
Keeping track of my games that I have, what I play, what I've beaten, really helped after a while to know what I've played, or if I go shopping now and I forget, like, shoot, did I buy this like random N64 game at some point that I see on sale here at the used game store, and then I can look it up on there. But it's also really encouraged me to go back and beat some of those games where I was like, this was too hard, or I didn't have enough time, or whatever. But I had talked to TK Shadow before and found out that every single year I was buying more games than I was beating. So my collection was just going to infinitely grow, and I was never going to get around to everything. So I tried to make it a point to beat more games than I bought and get through them. And I ended the year with a net positive of 3. So
okay,
beat 3 more games than I bought. According to this, I have 252 games that I haven't beaten. So any year now, I'll make up the rest of that gap and have them all beaten. As long as I continue at that pace of 3 a year, I think I can do it.
Fair enough. And you got to beat Solstice this year, because I'm looking at Solstice right now.
Yeah. Solstice is the oldest game I own that I have not beaten. It's a non-linear, isometric kind of exploration adventure game. Isometric thing makes the platforming kind of hard at times. But it's mostly known for having fantastic music and stuff, but it's very tricky if you don't know where you're going. You can just get endlessly lost in that game. And I've never taken the time to like really memorize the map to get through it. So, and then yeah, as plus their backlogger is the website I'm talking about. You don't have a database of games to pick from. You have to type them all in yourself. But those other sites where they have a database I've run into, all of a sudden some random game I have isn't in there or something like that. They divide a collection or put it together when I don't want it put together, and it makes it a little awkward. But at Backlogger, you can just type in all the games you have and then track them how you want them. So,
gotcha.
That's the one I stuck with for that.
I might have to do this. I might have to actually start up an account on Backloggery and start filling out all this shit. But you know what's going to be sad is like 4 times a year it's just going to have like, I beat Resident Evil 3, Donkey Kong Country 3, and Legend of Dragoon again. Like, every fucking year until I die. Like, I can't.
Yeah. And then it's tough if you forget to add a couple games and you put them on your and then you like open the website and you're like, what did I buy a month ago?
Yeah.
There's something. And you're like, what is on my list and what is on my shelf? And then you have to like compare. So it kind of sucks if you forget to add and then you fall behind. And but.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm looking at your speedrun times for Mega Man right now. 48 minutes for Mega Man 4. 46:17 for Mega Man 3. 35:45.
But yeah.
Look,
they were good at the time. They are not as hot now, but I was proud of them back then.
TK Shadow says he bought way more games than he beat. Well, fucking 2020, new year, new you, baby. Time to start working on it.
Welcome to any Steam sale.
Oh my god.
People, that's... and then while we're on run times, I know I'm jumping ahead into a question in the chat.
No, go right ahead.
TK Shadow asks about my Tetris Attack speedrun. And that was last year during nap time for my kid. I would just play Tetris Attack in quick bursts because I was beating very hard mode of the single player in Tetris Attack in like 12 to 15 minutes. And it was a run I could fit in anytime she was asleep. And I made it a goal to get under 10 minutes. And eventually got to 9:57 for Tetris Attack speedrun.
God damn, dog. Jesus.
I was incredibly proud of that, and took way too many games of Tetris Attack and way too much luck because that speedrun is so RNG heavy. I don't even know that one. But
oh my god.
It's such a fun game, though.
Super Metroid, 100% in an hour 14.
Yeah.
God damn. Oh, you're doing the 14% run? Ha! Have fun, bitch.
I was doing that. I gave up on that a long time ago.
That fucking sucks.
Where you crystal flashes and stuff, and I could not manage that whole run without dying.
Yeah, fuck that. Oh, goodness gracious. Well, Rockdan, this has been awesome, man. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you for coming on the show. If people want to find you on the internet, where can they find you?
They're probably going to look to find me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is HeyIt'sRockdan. That's probably where you'd find anything fighting game related or anything else we discuss.
Perfect.
On here. And if you hit me up there, say hi, whatever, we can talk. Maybe you'll find me at some Michigan-based fighting game tournaments too.
Hell yeah. If you want to find, like he said, if you want to find him, it's Hey It's Rockdan on Twitter. If you want to find me, you can find me on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and all around the world at Sriracha Flash. That's SRIRACHAFLASH. If you want to support the show, reviews on Apple Podcasts, 5 stars is greatly appreciated. Helps grow the show, and helps. Like I said, this is a community project, so help the show grow, help the people that come on grow, gives them more exposure and all that fun stuff. So if you can give us a rating, great. If you can't give us a rating, you're not on Apple Podcasts, share the show, tell your friends. Like, the more people we have listening, the more people that we can get on here and give them more exposure to the world. Next week is Yace Week. Super excited about that. We're going to have Master Who on, we're going to have TK Shadow on, we're going to have Mr. Yusuck, the Icy Glaceon. Morgan, Fog E, is going to be on Monday. She's going to kick off the week for us. for Yace Week, so I'm super excited about that. We're going to do 5 shows in 5 days. I'm going to be dog-ass tired.
While we're on this, what do you think Yace stands for?
So I've been under the assumption that at this point it stands for everything and nothing. Because I've seen 7 or 8 different configurations of Yace. But for me, I'm going to stick with my favorite, which is Y'all Ain't Shit Anyways. Because it's on my tank top, so that's the official one for me.
Okay.
But Yacht and Sailboat Enthusiast is another good one.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but yandere, I think is it?
Yeah.
Yanderes ain't sexy, everyone. I think that's what it stands for. Yeah. So remember that.
Like I said, it's everything and nothing at this point. I'm sure I'll give the full... Yeah, all right. Listen, TK Shadow's going to give us the full rundown next week. Here's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to isolate these fuckers. And I'm going to be like, I want you to tell me what Yace means, what it stands for, but I'm not going to let them know. TK, you can't let anybody else know this is what's going to happen. And I want them all to give me all their different ones, and we're going to add them up at the end of the week, and I'll be like, y'all don't even know. Infighting in Yace. But no, I'm super excited about it. It should be a good time. But yeah, so that's the show. Thank you everyone for listening. Y'all have yourselves a wonderful night, and we will see you on Monday for the next show. Have a good one.
Yeah. Thank you.